you've seen may change your perception of any sporting event. Get this, shoot this.
Welcome to Outside the Lines. I'm Ryan Smith. A familiar name on the NFL quarterbacking landscape is once again passed over for another who hasn't thrown a pass in 7 years. The Redskins and their spot. They've gone through 2 quarterbacks with season-ending injuries, and with Mark Sanchez as the team's only quarterback, they had to sign a backup. Colin Kaepernick, perhaps? No, Josh Johnson. Who? Well, Josh Johnson, whose last NFL regular season pass was thrown in December of 2011. That's more than 5 years before Kaepernick, his former teammate, last played. Now, Johnson, who has been signed 5 times by 4 NFL teams since Kaepernick's last appearance. Now, on a conference call on Tuesday, Jay Gruden noted that Kaepernick was considered, but
so not a lot of time to really get a brand new quarterback and new system installed and taught in a couple days of practice. So he's been talked about and discussed, but we'll probably go a different direction.
And according to Gruden, internal talks about Kaepernick are no different from talks about any other quarterback candidates, calling the decision, quote, just football, strictly football.
Had this been week 1, maybe it would probably be a greater possibility, but since it's week 13 with 4 games to go, in order to really utilize somebody like Colin Kaepernick's skill set, you're talking about a whole new group of formations and run concepts and all that good stuff. So it's just very difficult. You want to have somebody with a similar skill set than the quarterback that you have. Not that Colin can't do some of the things that I'm talking about, but somebody with a little bit of familiarity.
All right, but does Johnson have that familiarity? We shall see. All right, Jason Reed, senior writer for The Undefeated, joining us. All right, so Jason, what was your reaction to Jay Gruden's response there?
Ryan, all that was utter tripe. I mean, everything he said there was ridiculous. The thought, the notion that the Washington Redskins did not reach out to Colin Kaepernick because they want someone with Colt McCoy's skill set, it just strains credulity. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Colt McCoy, nice guy. He's a career backup who can't stay on the field. And your offense, you're not doing anything on offense right now that is good. The best thing you could probably do on offense right now is have a quarterback who could run. Your quarterback right now is Mark Sanchez. I don't care how infatuated you are with your X's and O's. I don't care how much you love the stuff that you run. Mark Sanchez can't execute it, so the whole thing is moot.
But playing devil's advocate here, could the Redskins say, look, we want a guy who kind of knows our system? We've seen teams say that before when they're talking about signing quarterbacks, and maybe Colin Kaepernick isn't the guy for them.
Well, Colin Kaepernick is not the guy for them. There's no doubt about that. But to say that it's because, well, it's so late in the season and we'd have to change our scheme and we'd have to do this and that, the offense that you're running with Mark Sanchez is not working. So it doesn't matter if Mark Sanchez knows a little bit about what you're doing because he has some familiarity with some people in your staff. If it's not working, it's irrelevant. So this whole argument for the reason that they didn't reach out to him, I just don't buy it.
So what do you think is the reason why they didn't reach out to Kaepernick?
I think the reason these teams are signing guys who should not be able to get into a stadium without buying a ticket. To be part of the NFL anymore. Look, we all know that Colin Kaepernick has filed a collusion grievance against the league. We all know that Colin Kaepernick, by first sitting and then kneeling, upset a lot of owners and ignited this new civil rights movement these NFL players are leading. And I get it. They don't want this guy around. But when you're signing guys who cannot walk and chew gum and throw the ball from point A to point B, don't tell me the reason you're not signing Colin Kaepernick because he doesn't fit your scheme.
You know, it's interesting. Looking at it from that perspective, it sounds like Kaepernick's going to have a hard time getting back anywhere. You wouldn't be alone in that opinion. A lot of people have said, hey, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back just based on how teams might feel about him. How much does his absence affect his chances of playing? Talking about the more guys are away from the game, the harder it is for them to get back in.
Well, Ryan, right on the money, my man. You're talking about a guy who last took a snap at the end of the 2016 season. He hasn't had any practice reps. He hasn't had any game reps. And when you're out this long, clearly your skills, no matter how hard you've been working out, your skills are not going to be the same. I think he would need a full training camp, maybe a complete off-season program and all that to try to really get back into it. But here's the other thing, Ryan. No one wants Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick has protested oppression. What would the Redskins do if they actually reached out to him and said, nah, I don't want to sign with you guys because of your name? I mean, that is an element that they would have to be scared about, even if they were interested in him, which they're not.
You know, the question has come up. You know, you signed Reuben Foster, who's got accusations of domestic violence against him, yet you wouldn't give a look to someone like Colin Kaepernick. What does that say about the Redskins to you?
Well, we all know this Reuben Foster thing was something that was met with criticism across the board, across the country, because the young man didn't maybe deserve another chance at some point, but the timing of it, that let's let this thing play out to see what happens with these allegations. But clearly, the Washington Redskins look at Reuben Foster as someone who can help them, and they don't look at Colin Kaepernick as someone who can help them, and we can just leave it there for let the people make their own.
More now, whether Colin Kaepernick will ever take a snap in the NFL again. Developments in the stories surrounding their investigation into former Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt. The Kansas City Star is reporting that the league didn't make a formal kicking a woman was made public by TMZ. Now, according to the Star, open records requests require government agencies to receive public records, meaning, quote, formal request. NFL Vice President of Communications Brian McCarthy has said in a previous statement, quote, we have had multiple verbal learning of the incident in February, adding they also made requests for the video to the hotel where the incident took place. We'll keep an eye on that story.
Fultz might go down as one of the biggest.
Shooting and keep shooting, because all you do is reinforce bad habits.
The things going on with Markel Fultz.
The Sixers are not prioritizing him anymore.
From a shoulder injury to having a bad case of the yips. But today, the injury picture around the 76ers' 2017 #1 overall pick is much more clear. The guard has been diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome on his right side, according to the Sixers and his attorney. He'll miss the next 3 to 6 weeks for rehabilitation, and the condition affects nerves and blood vessels between the neck and shoulder, according to Fultz's lawyer, limited the Sixers' second-year man's ability to shoot. While less common in basketball, TOS is much more common in baseball, often with dire results. It ended the career of former Houston Astros star J.R. Richard, and pitchers like Matt Harvey have returned, but have never been the same. So what will happen with Markel Fultz? We shall see. Chiney Ogwumike here with us to talk Fultz. Okay, so when you heard the news about his injury, after all this time, what was your thought?
I felt plenty of relief for Markel Fultz because we finally have a diagnosis. There is a name, thoracic outlet syndrome. And I had to go to WebMD to figure out what it really meant. But there is a name, there is symptoms that actually are congruent to what Markel Fultz had been experiencing. Everyone was thinking that it was in his head. Everyone was thinking that it was the yips. So for me, I was very, very getting better.
So now it invites the question, because looking back at the you do as a player when you feel like something is wrong, but fans, players, maybe the team is thinking, yeah, there's nothing wrong with them, saying in public,
coaches, you can talk trainers, agent, family, even friends. The problem is the most pressure that you're applying is probably himself, Markel. The fact that he even stepped the court and clearly there was something wrong and continued to play. Granted, he was given a lot of opportunities. He started 15 games for the 76ers. They really wanted him to be the key big three, you know, the third guy in the rotation. Granted, they got Jimmy Butler, which was nice.
Right.
He put so much pressure on himself, and I'm very proud of him for actually trying to put himself out there, doing whatever it takes. So when you see a guy that goes through such public ridicule for his handling the situation as he did, getting some time away
off on his own and got this this diagnosis or this evaluation.
Players have
got
to do that.
Do they really? So where is that
advocate.
line? Because it's a team, you want to be responsible. That as a player.
We're witnessing the day and age in which NBA players or even athletes in general his situation. He got his own medical, information. This is the same thing that's happening with Markelle Fultz. He had to find someone that could actually communicate and explain to him what the situation was that was happening to him because something was off. Athletes have to fight for themselves. Trust me, I understand this. I had right knee microfracture. I had to fight for myself and say, guess what? I need time. Because at the end of the day, our body as athletes are our business.
So you have to 6 weeks now, and I can tell you that fans are saying, okay, I'm looking at my watch. In 6 weeks, this guy should
Y'all should be good. You got
he
Jimmy
should be
Butler.
shooting. What is your advice to him?
And very severe. I've had two. I would say do not rush. Do not rush for the world. Let's talk about the 76ers franchise. This is probably the most patient franchise. So if I'm Markelle Fultz, take your time. 3 to 6 weeks. To me, that even when I heard it, keep doing what he's been doing. I mean, he's laughed it off, but he's also found help.
All right, Janae, thank you so much. Really, really interesting there when you talk about it and what he's got.
Well, I am an athlete, so it sort of helps.
Exactly,
Injured, you know?
exactly. Listen to Janae, Markelle. All right, well, coming up, Kyler Murray's got a big choice coming up, and he talks about it with another two-sport star, Tim Tebow. That's next.